Philadelphia DSA labor branch. I'm also a teacher. Yeah, all right. I'm also a high school teacher, and I'm a member of the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers. So this is our first, we're calling it State of the Union event, and the whole idea of this event is kind of just to be a forum where we can talk about current issues in the labor movement and learn from past experiences of like activists locally in Philadelphia. And especially because labor is so essential to the socialist project, and we have so many new people now becoming socialists, joining organizations, and a lot of people just don't have much of a background of what are unions, and why are they so important. So we hope to kind of like fill that gap in a way. So today the guest will be Richard Hooker. Yeah, give him a round of applause. He works at UPS. He's been a Teamster for 20 years and a shop steward for 10 years in Local 623. And he's been part of the 623 Lives Matter movement, which is a rank-and-file movement trying to get the membership active and in opposition to leadership, especially around the recent contract negotiations, which we'll get into in our discussion. He was also elected as delegate to the National Convention in 2016. So we'll kind of have a discussion of questions, and then I hope at some point, we can have like general audience questions for both of us. So we have seats here. It's all nice here.
All right.
We don't need mics, right?
No,
that'd be like
it seems small.
Yeah.
You guys can hear me pretty good? All right, good.
Just kind of start with basic questions, some personal history, like where did you grow up? What was it like where you grew up? Family influences, talk a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up in the greatest state in the world, North Carolina.
Woo!
Oh yeah. Go Duke. Go Duke.
I'm sorry, I'm a Wolfpack.
My father was a big influence. He was a military man and also a preacher. He'd been preaching probably since I've been born. So the whole influence about protecting people, both in the spiritually and naturally fighting for the country, that kind of got into me. So that's why I feel so strong about fighting for people, because I've seen it every day of my life, through my father. So that was a big influence. And just growing up in the South, it's not a strong union presence. It was like North Carolina's right to work state. So there was no talk about unions. I didn't know anything about unions until I moved up here. So, that had, I didn't know anything about unions.
Okay.
That wasn't talked about, wasn't taught, wasn't demonstrated. So I didn't know anything until I moved up here.
Okay. And kind of along with that, it sounds like your father influenced you politically, but did anyone else kind of in the early stage?
This quote one day I was on the radio, they said, all those people that say you're not into politics, your landlord is, the mortgage company is, the company you work for is, everybody around you is, so you might need to start thinking about that. So that kind of, plays in my mind every time I want to say I'm not into politics, and then I hear where everybody else around you is, so you might need to think about it.
Yeah. What was kind of your early work experience, and before UPS, if there was any? And
you know what? When I first came up to Philadelphia, I used to work at Wawa.
Okay.
First ever job was Wawa. Down
Which one?
18th and Market. That was 18th and Market.
They had
Back they don't have it there now.
Okay.
But I used to make hoagies, and I was going to school at Drexel right down the street here.
Okay.
And making hoagies, and they had a little spot in there with Pizza Hut, so I used to do that as well while going to Drexel and everything. And I never forget it. It was a union lady. She came in there trying to organize us in Wawa. But again, I didn't know at the time what a union was. So I was like, because the managers were telling us, "No, man, you don't want to deal with the union. Whatever, get out of here." So they left. They never came back. But that was my first really encounter coming up here was with the lady. I don't remember that at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even without like a union structure, was there a time where you were organizing coworkers, even informally, or standing up for them?
No, I always try to fight for people, regardless of the job or whatever. Now my uncle, I will say this, my uncle, Uncle James, he was a union man. He
What
really,
union?
he was, he used to do construction work over in Jersey.
Okay.
So I can't remember what union that was for. I think he was a brick mason.
Mhm.
So he really kind of influenced me about unions, because he also said this. He said, I never did this. He said, if there is no reason why the company, if the company is successful, then the members should be successful.
Mhm.
There should be no give backs if the company is profitable.
Right.
And that always stuck in my mind. He always tell me that. If the company's doing good, making money, there's no reason why the members should settle for any concession.
Mhm.
That was his message to me. And this was, wow, maybe about 10, 15 years ago he told me that.
Okay.
So I always, remember that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good segue. Speaking of companies doing very well, when did you start working at UPS?
99. Ooh.
Okay.
Long time.
That's it. And was that in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What were the conditions like? When
Well,
you
it was a lot
started?
different back then than it is now. You know, it was more of a, I want to say family atmosphere, even though, you know, it was the company and the union. It wasn't like it is now.
Mhm.
You know, the managers, you know, they kind of stayed to themselves. They didn't really talk to the members or the employees. They kind of just stayed out to themselves. We stayed up to ourselves. And that's how it normally was.
Mhm.
So, I didn't really know anything about the union. I was about, what, 20? That was about 20 years old.
Okay. Wow.
So I didn't know.
Mhm.
You know, I was coming to work, showing up. I saw union dues,
Yeah.
taking out my check. I asked no questions. They said, this what it is. There was no training, no class to let me know what the union was all
Mhm.
about. So I just went to work, and
Right.
that was it. No questions asked.
Mhm.
I never got into any trouble, so I never had any union representation to come get me out of trouble. So I never knew anything
Mhm.
about the union. You know, so I didn't know.
And so 1999, so that's 2 years after. So
Strike.
1997, there was a huge national UPS strike that was, you know, victorious basically in all respects and kind of like shook the country up.
Right.
Was there any, when you were there, any like talk about that? Did you hear about it?
Oh yeah,
Was there-
because like I said, that just happened like 2 years prior before I got there, so there were still talks about it. Because a lot of those people that were there they were part time their whole career up until that point. So you're talking about what, Joan, like 20,000 people? Yeah. They got full time jobs just like that.
Mhm. I remember this. Well, I don't remember, it, but I read the slogan was "Part-time America doesn't work."
Doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about, and everybody was happy about that. I remember one time this guy, I think his name was Craig Rose. He gave me a ride in his car. They was able to purchase because he went full time, and you know he was able to take care of his family a lot better than he was when he was part time. So you know everybody was happy. But then you also saw how the management changed against
Mhm.
the membership. Totally different. Now it's a war now. It's us
Mhm.
against them.
Mhm.
So that's what all the members, they used to tell me. Oh man, before the strike, everything was like this, like this.
Right.
They used to do this. They stopped doing all that because you guys beat us. So now you guys got to pay it another way.
Right. Okay. How did you start getting involved in the union? Was it like a slow process? Or
It was a slow process. It was a slow process because, like I said, I didn't know anything. No one put me to the side and say, "Hey, yo, these are your union rights. This is your contract. These are the do's and don'ts." There was nothing. It's just you work here, pay union dues, and that was it. No one told me anything. But one day, I guess about 2007, I was asked to be a shop steward. I'm like, I don't know what a shop steward is. I mean,
Do you know why they asked you?
I have no idea. They just said, "Oh well, you come to work. You come to work every day."
Okay.
And, right. So, and you carry yourself well. No one had. You're respectful. So, why don't you give it a shot? I said, okay. Shop steward. Okay. But then,
Maybe just explain, what is a shop steward?
A shop steward is a elected person that takes care of a small area within the bargaining unit. For an example, my area that I cover now, I cover the downstairs area. For you guys that may not know, it's secondaries that each secondary gets packages or whatever work. So I take care of that whole downstairs area and my area, which is called quality control. So I take care of that area as well. It's an elected position, but when I first got into it, the person that was elected, he made me his alternate. So that's how I got involved with that. So that's what a shop steward is. It's a person that takes care of a certain area within the bargaining unit.
And unlike certain officials, shop stewards aren't paid. So
Well,
shop stewards,
they're not paid per se, but
Right.
in our local, what happens is if you go to a certain amount of meetings in the course of the year, they reimburse you some of your union dues back
Okay.
throughout the year.
and I think a key distinction on shop stewards actually work on the job.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah,
every day
it's
or
not
most
a
days.
it's not a
It's not like a cushy thing.
no.
Yeah.
You right there in the war, in the trenches with the rest of the membership. You see it firsthand. You're actually the first line of defense. You know, if something goes wrong, you know, you have to take care of it first, the best way you can. So, but like I said, though, like I said, when I first became a steward, no training, no one told me what a shop steward was. It was just, here you go, have at it.
Right.
So, you know, and that's the wrong way to do things, you know what I mean? Especially for a position like that. You know, you gotta have some type of training. You have to. Especially when you're taking care of people. You know, and I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning because I didn't know anything. I was signing grievances wrong. Now the grievances is what the member puts in when there's an infraction against the company. So my first few grievances, I was signing in the wrong spot, saying that it was settled when it wasn't. But no one taught me.
And how old were you when you?
Oh my goodness, 20. How was I, baby? 20 what? 20, wow. Maybe mid-20s?
Okay, so that's a lot to be thrown in.
Yeah,
Right,
especially
without-
if it's your
yeah.
first time doing something like
Right.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe before I get more into like you as a union activist, maybe like walk us through. And so you are package handler. So
Right.
and you at the airport.
Right.
I mean, what are like the conditions like? So like day in the life, working in there. What are some of the common grievances that people have?
Well, I'll tell you the top 3 issues we have in our local. No particular order, but the top 3 are harassment, supervisors working, and seniority violations.
Okay.
Now, in our collective bargaining unit, the supervisor is not allowed to touch our work. That's strictly for the bargaining unit member. So, in that specific language, if the supervisor works, then they have to pay you for all the time the supervisors work. If they work 2 hours or less, it's double time. If it's 2 hours or more, then it's straight time. But a lot of times that doesn't happen because of our leadership. I'll put it out there. And then harassment language is not strong enough. There's no teeth. UPS does they do a lot of dirty things to our members, and there is no really remedy to what they do. They continue to do it, and the members suffer. And so a lot of time when that happens, that demoralizes the member, and so they don't want to participate in their union rights. They don't want to file agreements. They don't want to do those things that they should do because they know there is no really real remedy to the problem.
And I hear about harassment a lot. When
Yeah.
you get what kind of form does that take?
Oh, it's all any and every form you can think about. For an example, I went this past summer. I went down home in North Carolina, and there were a few drivers that told me that the division manager would get up in the driver's face, just yell and scream at them, and all these types of things. And Joan, you can talk to her because she's a package car driver, and she sees it all the time. They constantly hound the worker, and they force you to make mistakes. And then when you make that mistake, they pounce on you. And the way they talk to you, the way they over supervise you, it's just an immoral place to work sometimes.
Yeah.
And then when you try to stand up for yourself, they retaliate, which is another form of harassment.
Right.
There was a member not long ago, been there about 15 years. She filed her first grievance about maybe a year ago for supervisors working, which is a direct violation.
Right.
So she files it, and guess what happens? They move her to an area that she's never worked in before.
Mm-hmm.
Small lady, they put her to an area where she got to try to climb up something and do this. She can't do it. She's physically unable to do it.
Right.
But they did that to discourage her from doing it again, for filing another grievance. And that's how they do it.
Right.
They really use the contract against us in ways that you wouldn't believe.
Mm-hmm. So this kind of brings me, I mean, there's been a few like flashpoints in the last few years in terms of your activism with the Teamsters. I mean, I guess first talk about how did you start getting more comfortable as a steward and take it to the next level, and then maybe that will kind of bring us to in 2015. There was a big national Teamsters election where Jimmy Hoffa Jr., so the Hoffa we all know, his son is now back in power in the Teamsters, where he was basically almost unseated as president. So we could talk about kind of like the trend going into
Well,
that.
the reason why I had to get more involved was because I didn't like the direction where the leadership was taking the members. In 2013, it was a contract, and the major issue was healthcare. So what happened in this contract, the officials, they had Hoffa and the General Secretary of Treasury come to our hall. And they put out this big promotion about how we weren't going to pay $9, we weren't going to pay 9 cents. You're not going to pay anything, right? So everybody got all pumped up. Woo, yeah, woo, woo, woo. And so it was just a big fanfare. So everybody believed that. Our officials, you know, they said, oh yeah, the insurance is going to be the same, this, that, and the other. But it was a lot of underlying things besides the insurance that was the problem. For an example, they extended the time that it takes to get top rate for a full-timer. So when I first went full-time, and John, you probably the same, it took us 2 years to jump up the top page union scale. They extended that period by 2 years. So the members actually losing about $30,000, you know, compared to the driver. If you're a driver, you're losing probably about $50,000 or $60,000 in that time. So, but you know, that wasn't addressed. They made it all about the health care, and people forgot about that. So they took the health care away from us, and our officials, you know, they put on a campaign saying, hey, listen, it's the same. The health care is the same. Don't worry about it. It was the same name. It was still Blue Cross Blue Shield, but the coverage was a whole lot different. A whole lot different. So the contract, you know, it was voted, majority voted yes for it, but they had a lot of supplements, like 18 supplements that voted it down.
Okay. You mean like 18 locals?
18 locals voted it down, or area contracts voted it down. So what happened, they forced it on us anyway, and that left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. So what happened, it was around the time that Tom Wolf was getting ready to run for his first term in office, 2014. I had a long conversation with my elected officials at the local, at the hall, and I flat out told them, it was a private conversation, and I told them, say, listen, the members are not happy what you guys did with the contract. You guys don't come down to the hall, to the buildings, you don't fight for us, the contract is bad, and you lied to us. They looked me in my face and said, Hooker, you go back and tell the members, stop crying, pull their pants up, and get over it.
Wow.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You know, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up to help and protect people and fight for people. You telling me I gotta go back? No. You go back and tell them this. So that was the beginning of the end for how because I was loyal to those guys.
Right.
I mean, I just was. But once that happened, it was that started the divide.
Okay.
Then I started seeing some other things they would do. So I had to do something. You just can't sit there. So I did everything I was supposed to do. I went back to him privately. Then I did it into a shop store meeting. Bring it up. Everybody flipping all out. Oh man, we can't believe this. Oh, Hooker, you just no man. The members are hurting.
Right.
You told us this was not going to happen. You lied to us. So how can we fix it? They didn't care. So that's when I had to start getting more involved with what's going on.
Okay. And so what about the 2015 national elections?
2016, that was
Or was it 2016?
2016.
Right.
That was an eye-opening experience.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot in that 1 year than my whole 20 years being there. Now, 2016 was a very, very busy year. You had the delegate election, you had our local election, you had the International Brotherhood of Teamsters election, and of course you had the United States presidential election. So it was just a lot of elections. And though I remember people were tired of hearing about vote. So we had the delegate nominations. Joan was there.
That was in 15.
The delegate election was 15. There was 15.
Okay, but that wasn't the national leadership.
Well, that led up to it because you gotta have the delegates to go to the convention.
Okay.
So we had the meeting, and myself, Joan Miller, and a few other members was elected to go. We were nominated to go. So at the meeting, we were waiting for our officials to stand up. Because in our bylaws, they actually have the right to go before anybody because of their position. So we're waiting for them to get up. Okay, all right, you guys are gonna go rectify what happened with Hoffa. You guys are gonna go fight for us. Yeah, woo! They didn't even get up. They didn't even get up, Paul.
Silent.
We pay these guys a lot of money, and they wouldn't even get up. That was devastating to me.
Did you have a chance at any time to speak or get up?
But to them?
Yeah, at the meeting, the delegates meeting.
Well, after we got nominated and that happened, then there was a vote. We won the vote. So then we went to the convention. But that was a whole nother issue. And now check this out. So the way it's supposed to happen is when you go to the convention, everything is supposed to be taken care of by the local. They take care of the room and board, everything. You don't have to come out of your pocket at all. So, and it's been that way forever. So I had another one of my brothers to call our principal officer at the time and say, hey, call him up and see what's taking so long. Why are we not getting information about what's going on? Because it's getting ready to get cut off time. And we didn't know what's going on. So he calls him and says, oh no, you guys are going to have to pay for it. And then we'll reimburse you when you come back. So I said, ask him this question. Why don't you say, we'll pay for it, right? But before we leave, will you reimburse us the money? He said, no. So I had to call the Eastern Regional's election supervisor. His name is John Paluca. I had to call him and get him involved. But these guys were really going to try to screw us out of going and representing our members. The members voted for us.
So you think this was a move to get you knocked out?
Yeah.
Right.
Because just think about it. Look at it from their perspective. If we don't go, we don't get a chance to stand up to Hoffa, and we don't get to put our voice out there for change or try to make constitutional changes that we needed, and it makes it look like we're weak because listen, the guys had a chance to go, they didn't go, and they were just gonna be sitting back like, hey, look, we told you. But luckily we got through all that. We went there. We got the delegates that we needed. We didn't get the constitutional change that we tried to get because there was enough of us. I mean, Paul, you see how the room is right here? Just imagine that times 100, and everybody's against you.
Okay.
Jonah,
Oh, he's not lying.
so and everybody had red vests, and then in our joint council, it was like this here.
What is the red vest symbolize?
For loyalty to Hoffa.
Oh, shit.
I'll put it like that. So just imagine this right here in this section, and we were from Teamster Joint Council 53. So it was myself and two other brothers. We were sitting like in the middle. They made sure they put us in the middle of everybody. No, we had black members to represent Fred Zuckerman and Teamsters United.
Okay.
And man, they had us surrounded. They put us right in. So we had to try to get in, man. And one guy, the one local president, man, he would make it hard for us to get by. Yeah. Oh man, what you doing? What you doing? Then they would take our little sleeves off the chair and throw them on the ground.
Sorry, it's not funny, but
yeah. Then they would have these stickers. like with Fred Zuckerman with the line going through it on our back and all this stuff. Man, it was crazy. It was crazy. And these are supposed to be our brothers and sisters. That's what I can't understand. I get it, you know, that you vote for who you want to vote for politically, but don't treat your own people like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Booing and all this other kind of, just totally disrespectful. Totally disrespectful. You try to go up to the mic and nominate somebody, boo, and all this yelling and screaming till you to go sit down, I'll call you all kind of names. But then when another candidate, you can hear a pin drop.
Right.
So, yeah, that's how it went.
So you mentioned Fred Zuckerman, the Teamsters United slate, was opposing Hoffa in this national election. So what did Teamsters United stand for? Like what made them different from Hoffa and the old leadership?
they focus more on the members. The members, and that's the number one priority, the members. Not the company, not being in office, the membership. And that's what it should be about. So, and everybody, you know, got along with that, you know, the idea of just being with the members. And we almost did it.
Right.
It just people just won't vote.
Votes went to Teamsters United, but it was Canada that.
Well, it really doesn't make a difference. If you take care of home, home will take care of you. You know what I mean? Look at our local. I think it was about 900 people that voted in that election, but we had over 3,000
members in the local.
Yeah. So if we do our part here, even in Fred's local, I think he got about 18,000 people, but only 4,000 people voted. You're talking about 14,000 people who just didn't vote. Right. And all over, and this happened all over the country. So you can blame Canada all you want to. If they went with Canada first and then came to us last, it'd have been the same thing. Right. So you gotta vote. You gotta take care of home. That whole Canada thing doesn't mean anything to me because all the votes that were here in the United States that people just didn't vote. That's the problem right there.
Yeah.
You vote, we won't be going through this right now.
And this kind of leads into so 2018, there was a huge contract fight, and so some of us in this room in DSA, we were out supporting at the gates for the pickets that were going on around the contract. So maybe kind of outline, you know, what were the main issues, especially like with the part-timers and the hybrid drivers.
Right.
What is all that, and you know, how did this whole contract thing end, and what has kind of been the ripple effects since?
Well, 2018. Well, I'll go back to 2017 for our local. We had our proposal meeting, and I went there to the proposal meeting, and I was there, and I saw how our officials, how they were handling the proposal, and I knew it was going to be a problem. There were no enthusiasm. There was no, hey man, we're going to get you guys the best that we can get, man, we're going to fight. It was just this proposal here, this proposal there. So I knew it was going to be a problem. So we started here in Local 623 trying to mobilize and organize, I guess, another Vote No movement. The Vote No movement, for you guys don't really know, it started way back in 2013. It was really, and I was against it back then because there's no way I would have thought that our leaders would lie to us like this. So it started back up again, right? It started really, really early, so we kind of had to get in front of it because we knew that they was going to sell us out again. So we started telling everybody, hey, listen, just whatever they do, we're going to have to put their foot to the fire. We can't have another 2013 situation happen again. So that day, we started talking about how can we make sure we get a good contract. So we started telling people, hey, look, any concession, say no to them, no matter what it is. We're going to make the officials do their job. So then they started coming out with all these. First, it was now the proposals that we put in place were really, really good, but the leaders, man, they didn't care. They did what they wanted to do. For an example, they had harassment language. It was supposed to be something like when a supervisor harass you, you're going to get paid a certain amount of money, and if it keeps escalating, the money would grow, and that supervisor would be let go. Well, the IBT came in and said, no, you may or may not get paid.
Basically, you won't get paid.
Right. Then they introduced another two-tier wage system where a driver would, a 22-4. So you would have a driver doing the same thing as a, what they call RPCD, regular package car driver would do, but they were gonna pay them $6 less to do the same job. So you know that's gonna create a divide in that classification. And they have no protections, no rights, you know, and the company don't even know how they're gonna use them. So my thing is, if I'm the union, why would I go along with the classification of job number one? It's another 2-tier job, and you don't even know what you're gonna do with them, and they have no protections. Why would I agree to that?
Right.
Why? Just strengthen the language you got to protect the drivers that they have now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they should have done. Strengthen the language that you have now to protect the drivers now, besides letting the company off the hook. So that's what happened. Then it was, of course, creating more full-time jobs. But now, came out with the 22-4 jobs. So those jobs are really going to take the bulk of the full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of part-timers who want to be inside and not have to go driving, because driving is a very strenuous job. And Joan will tell you, man, it's a hard job. They pay you well, but it's hard,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And a lot of our part-timers don't want that. They want to be inside workers.
Right. I think another demand was around $15 an hour.
$15 for the part-time.
And what was the company and the union?
$13.
The union leadership, $13.
$13. And then you know the Amazon that came out not long ago raising their wage up to $15.
Right.
So, you know, but again, the union, man, they just conceded everything to the company and they didn't want to fight. So then we voted. Now check this out. So we vote, and we vote the contract down. Woo! Yay! So we thought, and I was on the phone with Joan. I said, Joan, we did it. So I get home, I get a call. I say, Richard, we didn't do it. I said, what you mean? If you got more votes, if the no votes outweigh the yes votes, then that's what you want. Then UPS did the same thing. They put out a statement. Hey, you know, we understand that, you know, the members want to go back to the table. We'll set up something with the leadership of the Teamsters, and we'll jump right back on it. I'm just, you know, that's not actually what they said, but that's along the lines. The Teamsters said, no, you guys want to take this contract. I was, what? If the company is willing to go back to the table.
And they even put it online. They had
Put it online.
Right, put it on the website.
Right after we vote, they came out with it. They want to get ahead of it.
Right.
The team said no. Again, I just don't know how can they do that? We paying these people a lot of money. You tell us to vote. You say there's not enough people voting. You say we don't participate. You say we don't do this, we don't do that. Okay, we did it. Mm-hmm. And it's still not enough.
Right.
The company conceded.
Mm-hmm.
You know how hard it is to do that?
Right.
Especially coming out UPS? We did it.
But,
we did it.
Yeah.
And then our own people say no. No, you don't take this contract.
Just today, there were supplemental contracts, and what did they do about those?
For now, the supplement contracts like they did in 13, a lot of people voted their area agreements down. Well, we had about 5 that did that this time, and they had their votes. I think one of them actually went through, but the other 4, they had their vote yesterday. Yesterday?
And where are
Tuesday.
these contracts? Like
one is in local 804 New York City.
Okay.
Then you have local 243 in Detroit. Then you have Western PA and Central PA. They voted on Tuesday. And Western PA, man, they really did a good job. Because the reason why they implemented this contract was because they said that not enough of the voting members, not enough members voted. So what they did was, in our Constitution, they found a loophole that said you gotta have at least 2/3 of the voting members vote no on the contract when you don't have at least 50% of the voting members to vote. I think we only had like 40, it was like 44.
It was
something like
47 or 48%.
Right there. So, and we only had 55% of those members to vote no. So they said, we're going to give it to you. So they did the same thing with the supplements. They didn't do this last time. They just was bent on giving it to us. So, but In Western PA, they had more than 50% people vote, so they shouldn't even went to the 2/3.
Right.
But to cover themselves, 96% of those members voted no.
Wow.
96%. Guess what happened?
They pushed it
Alpha
down. Yeah.
and IBT said, no, y'all guys want to take this contract. Same thing with Local 243. Now, they didn't have the 50% threshold, but they had 88% of their members say no.
Right.
You know what he did?
Yeah.
You guys going to take this contract.
Right.
Now, the other one was, it was tighter. They didn't have the 50% and it didn't have the 2/3. So they gave it to them. Now, Local 804, they finished negotiations last Friday, and they're recommending a yes vote for their members, and they did a great job. They got $15 for their part-timers, 110 new full-time jobs for the part-timers. This IRC lane was cleaned up for their members over there, so they did a good job.
Right. Yeah.
And but for some reason we couldn't get that here, and a lot of members here in our local were wondering if they could do it, why couldn't we?
Right.
And I told them, leadership. Leadership makes a difference. If you want the best, then you're gonna have to vote like you want the best. You know what
And
I mean?
so that's a perfect segue. So you are running on a slate
Yes.
in Philly for the October
October election,
in your
right.
local.
Right.
So, you know, what is the union, the local, under the leadership of your slate? You know, what is it going to look like? How is it going to be different? Especially for the members, you know, who are demoralized,
Right.
they're alienated, you know, they don't believe in the union. You know, what do you think you can do to get them like re-engaged and enthusiastic?
Right. Well, one of the things I always believe that you have to do the job before the job becomes available. You know, you have to show people,
Right.
hey, this is what you're going to get before we even get, you know, there. So what we did from the contractual standpoint, what UPS and our local and international did was particularly our local. They didn't tell us anything about the contract. It was nothing. The principal officer would tell us, go look on the app. You know, why I gotta go look on the app when I'm asking you? And you know, I mean, I don't understand it. I'm asking you to tell me what's going on with the contract. Go on the app. So they just didn't want to tell us anything.
You know, our leadership, we're doing a campaign around building conditions, and our leadership, they have an app that tells you in each school like
Right.
how bad the conditions are.
Well,
they won't do anything about it, but
Right.
you'll know you're walking into the
Wow. Wow.
So I guess it's the new wave.
Right.
Yeah.
Go to the app.
Yeah.
Right. So then he comes back and he gives us our supplemental contract, and he says, and it's basically the same thing of 2013. And one of the drivers asked him, he said, well, if you came back with the same contract and we voted it down in 2013, I mean, what you think is going to happen now? But then he pulled his ace out. He said, well, if you guys don't vote yes on this contract the first time, UPS is going to take part of your raise. They're going to put it toward the pension. Now everybody's scared and nervous now because pensions are a hot topic because they're crumbling and
Right.
this, that, and the other, and people want their money when they retire. So and he used that to his advantage. And you know, I mean, he was very, very adamant about, hey, listen, man, you guys know that this was going to happen. And he pushed that home every day he was home. Hey, they're going to take part of your raise. So my thing was, where was all this at when they didn't give us a full raise 7 out of the last 10 years? Where was that flyer right that told us how much money we was going to lose? But people didn't correlate between the two. It was, hey, listen, man, I'm concerned about my pension. Now our supplement barely passed, even with that scare tactic. It only passed by 8 votes, but it still passed. But even if it didn't pass, Alpha was going to throw it in anyway because we didn't have enough people. Only 33% of the people voted here.
Yeah.
So it was going to go through anyway, regardless of what happened. It was going to go. He was going to implement it. But the fact that our principal officer negotiated out of a place of defeat, that got into the people that was voting. Well, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose it. And even certain members said, well, you know, do you have faith in them to go back to the table and fight for more? We might as well just take this.
Right.
And that's the attitude of our membership. Well, this is what we got. We might as well just take it. And that shouldn't be like that, especially when you're paying for something each week.
Right.
You know, you should. But that's one of the things that our members will see. The whole different attitude, the attitude of victory. Not only this the defeat, because we don't want the members to ever feel defeated, no matter what. Because you're paying for a service and they need to be represented properly. So that's why we started this bylaw amendment. Now, one of the things that we try to do to make it more transparent in our local was get a bylaw amendment together. So when negotiations happen, you don't have to ask your principal officer, or you don't have to hear your principal officer tell you, go to the act. You're gonna actually be able to see and hear and read everything from the very first proposal until you get the contract in your hand. You're gonna know. So you don't have to worry about, like I said, somebody telling you, go to the app, go online, go ask somebody. You're gonna know from day one what's going on with your contract. And that's a big issue because especially after 2013, people are upset. I mean, you lied to us and then you didn't tell us anything and then you just throw it on us. There was no transparency.
Right.
Now you're gonna be able to get that from day one. Then there's no relationship between the leadership and the membership. They dictate to us. And then when you don't respond in the way they want you to, they ostracize you. They don't fight for you the way they should. So there's not going to be that with us because we want to repair that relationship. That's why we got this committee called the ATM committee. And it works just like an ATM. You know, it's called advisory team member. What that is like I said, like an ATM. You know, when you go to the ATM, you can only get put out what you put in there. You can't withdraw more than what you got. So, and that's what we want to do with our members. We want to give them every tool necessary. So when it's come time to go to a rally, mobilize for a contract, go help the nurses out, go help the teachers out. I don't have to worry about the bus being half empty because I didn't do my part. Right. We had a right to work rally in April of a couple years ago. Nobody went. It was only like 5 people went. Because they don't do anything for us. Right. They don't deposit the necessary tools and the attitude and the vision that we need to progress forward. So we're going to create this committee so every quarter we'll be able to sit down and talk informally, talk about certain things, what's going on in the buildings, how can we help you, how can you help us, to strengthen the resolve and morale of the local. You know what I mean? And of course we got to educate our members. Right. There is no education in our local, none. Remember I told you when we first started, when I first became a shop steward, they just threw me out there.
So how would you do it differently? Like identifying shop steward?
Well, you have to find out from each shop steward and the members, you know, what are they good at, what are they not so good at, what area can you help them in? You know what I mean? For an example, not long ago we had a member who went full time 4 years ago. And he was coming up on his 4-year anniversary to get top pay, right? So he was looking for to jump up about $8 an hour right off the bat. But the hall told him, no, that's not correct. But he didn't know any better because he was just trusting them besides just, you know, being able to go to the book, find it for himself because we don't do any education in our local. Right. So what I did was I said, look, Mr. Minkins, his name is Ivy Minkins. So this is what I did. I said, Mr. Minkins, this is what I'm gonna do for you. I gave him agreement. I said, it's up to you if you put it in it, because I can't put it in for you, because I'm not the shop steward for your area. What I will do is I'll walk you through the process, let you see what it says in the book, and how it relates to your situation, so you can get what you deserve. So I gave him the articles, showed him where it was at, sent it to him, went over it with him. So now when he gave the grievance to his shop steward, he told him everything the book said, everything that I told him, and he told the business agent. Now the business agent changed her tune, like, oh, what's going on now, and what's happening? You know, what's going on, man? What's you know? So he stuck with it because this is what the book said. Yeah. So now he ended up getting $3,300 just like that, and they was going to short him out of it, right? And they didn't even care. Yeah.
That's now, what I can't understand. Bigger now, he knows the value of the union.
Right.
Why it's valuable.
He's educated on a specific issue that, you know, that was triggered because he didn't know. Right. Now he knows. Now he can tell everybody else in his area, hey, listen, this is what the contract says about what's going on in our situation. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise. Myself included. The leaders, the management, whatever. Because now you got information on what it says. So if it comes up again, he can help somebody else out. Hey, no, that's not right. It says this on this page, this article here, go get your money.
Right.
Plain and simple.
And what about, so you know, if the your slate is elected in local leadership, coming up for the next contract, which might be a very long time from now.
Yeah,
but
2023, right.
wow, okay. But what would be the burning issues, you know, the members are really feeling that, you know, you would want to change on and want to deliver?
Well, I can tell right now, you know, even just looking out, even though it's not 2023 yet, I can already tell you now, pension is going to be a big issue. It's going to, because they actually have language in the contract, the one that's ratified but not implemented yet. What happened is, what I found out, UPS does not do anything by happenstance. Every word in that book means something. When they take a word out, it means something. When they add a word in there, it means something. So what they did in our pension, in the memorandum of understanding, they actually took years off that they would cover the pension. Before, it always says 10 years. They cut it to 5, so it's going to run out. In 2023, normally it'll go past that. So what you think UPS is going to do in 2023? I mean, you guys going to have to find your pension.
Yeah. I don't know, leaders telling people
No, they didn't say anything about it. They didn't say anything.
Yeah.
So that's when we got to educate our members.
Right.
We got to let them know, hey, look, this is what this means. This is how it means to you. Even in the technology and discipline language, they took the word driver out. Normally it would say something like, a driver cannot be disciplined for telematics. Now it says an employee can't be disciplined or whatever for telematics.
What is telematics?
Telematics is like a like Orion and electronic surveillance and all this other kind of stuff.
Okay.
Watching the driver, this, do that, this, that, and the other. So what they did was they took that out. Because I just had a hearing not long ago where the supervisor told me they can actually follow the employee when he loads, how long it's taking him, what packages he put in there, what he didn't put in there, everything. So what I had to do is say, hey, listen, man, you know, so what? Did you see him do it? No, but it says right here. No. But before, I could go to the languages and say, hey, listen, you can't use this against our member.
Right.
But they took that out.
Right.
They took it out. Or did they add it in? I think what they did, it used to be an employee, but they said driver. That's what they did. They changed it up. So whereas now it's just the driver we protected and not the employee. That's the way it's worded. That's the way it's worded. You know what I mean? So that's what they did.
Okay.
Yeah, so now, you know, I had a situation, like I said, not long ago when I had to try to figure that out. But that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to get our members, the inside workers, on the telematics and the electronics.
Okay. So switch gears just kind of a little bit. I remember a conversation we had at one of our Medicare for All campuses, having to do with, you know, race and labor movement and inside unions. So, well, I think first, I remember you said something to me. I remember, and you basically said, you know, labor rights are civil rights.
Civil rights, right.
So, kind of elaborate on that, but also then go into, you know, are there at UPS, maybe nationally, but also locally, are there racial divisions within the workplace and the union?
I would say this: race is very uncomfortable to talk about. I hate talking about it. I do, because especially when you're running for office, especially they always try to say, "Oh, here you go again talking about race." Because now local, there has never been an African American principal officer in 100 years.
Wow.
Never. So that's why it's kind of uneasy subject, because I don't want to say too much, and then it's kind of a bouncing act. So when we came up with the name 623 Lives Matter, I knew it was going to be a problem because of the whole, everybody was trying to, oh, Black Lives Matter, this, that, and the other. But I always believe that instead of dancing around the problem, just go ahead on and deal with it. I know people got a problem with race. So you know what? This is how we're going to do. We're really going to deal with it. I'm African American. I'm running for the principal officer for a local that's never had an African American principal officer. The name, 623 Lives Matter. I know people are going to correlate that with the Black Lives Matter. It has nothing to do with it, but I can see why they would do that. So we had to deal with it from that perspective, head on. So because I knew it was going to be a problem, and in 2016 it was a big problem.
That name, you mean?
Right, because we ran for office in 2016.
Right. Okay.
and we lost by 37 votes. And a lot of it was race. That was a very, very big issue. I even had a member who sent me a message saying, "Hey Hooker, are you going to take care of white members like black members?" And this was a white lady whose job I've been saving for the last So when it happened, man, it hurt.
Yeah.
But I knew then it was going to be an uphill battle. I knew it was going to be a problem. But instead of dancing around it, you just got to go straight ahead. I mean, listen, I can't change my color. That's just the way God made me. I don't see, I'm going to fight for everybody the same. Just your color doesn't matter to me. And look, the company we work for, they don't care about your color. They'll fire you, harass you, short you. They don't care. Whatever they can do to take advantage of you, they will do. It's our job as a union, no matter your color, your race, where you come from, to protect you. Not just black people, white people, LGBT, BT, I can't get the name out. Y'all know what I'm talking about. No matter what it is, we have an obligation and a duty to protect everybody in our bargaining unit, no matter where you come from. But, like I said, race, and just, and Joan can speak to this, same thing for women. In our international board, there's one woman, one. And Hoffa trying to get rid of her. One woman. And I think there's only one African-American male.
Yeah.
But it's just the way it is.
Right. And one thing we talked a little bit before about even how management, whether how deliberate it is or not, kind of using race and what you're saying, like
they do. They try to.
You said they're beating the union culturally.
Yes, they are. For an example, when I first started at UPS 20 years ago, all the managers and full-time suits, whatever part of management they played, they all look the same. I'm not talking about color. I'm talking about dress, behavior, talk, look. Everybody was the same, and you could tell the difference between the management and the hourly. If we go right now to UPS, you couldn't tell between a manager or an hourly.
When we were picketing,
you couldn't tell.
accidentally fired.
Right. But if you came out there years ago, you would have been able to tell. Because it's the way they look, talk, move, everything about them was different. Now, it's totally different. They come in, full beards, earrings everywhere, the tattoos. But that was on purpose to get the union member on their side after the strike. They wanted to break us down so they could get, that would never happen again. They wanted to do that, and that's the easiest way. You infiltrate the members, get alongside with them. Hey, and then in this contract situation, what they did was the company were throwing our own members parties when they made their 30-day seniority.
Parties. Oh,
parties.
Okay. Right.
So they made their 30-day seniority, and the company would throw them a party and say, "Hey, thank you for making it." It wasn't the union doing it; it was the company doing it. And they did it all the time. And they did it until they got what they wanted. They gave them a retention bonus. All these things to get what they wanted from them.
Right.
Then it was time to cut them off. All right, we got the contract. Take your bonus away from you. And now, no more parties now. Right. They stopped them. They did that just to get what they wanted from them. That's what the company does.
Yeah. And maybe go back to that quote. And I think, we were on Labor Justice Radio on Martin Luther King Day. Right. I think this quote related to that, but labor rights are civil rights. So what does that mean to you?
Well, you guys know Martin Luther King, when he went to the Memphis sanitation strike, that next day he was assassinated because he understood how both played a part in American society. If you want a strong working class and social rights, then everybody got to work together. There's no racial divide when you want to make the society better. Just because you're a different color than me doesn't mean that I'm beneath you or I'm better than you. And speaking of this, I'll go back to the convention to show you how race really plays a part. There was a moment there where they had actually two members from that strike up on stage talking about that whole experience they had.
With the 97?
No, the sanitation strike. They had the I am signs and everything.
Yeah.
They gave us I am signs that day because they had these two members there for that sanitation strike, and they was talking about King. They was talking about how it was, and I had a one of our joint council members, the president of I can't remember the logo, but he was there, and he turned around and told me, he said, "Man, listen, you guys need to stop worrying about fighting against Hoffa. Just worry about your local. Just worry about your local. Forget Hoffa. Worry about your local is no good. We know those guys, they're not doing the job. Yeah, just worry about that. But leave Hoffa alone." So I looked at him and I said, "Man, listen, you see those two guys up there? What would have happened if they would listen to people like you?" I wouldn't have been able to be in this building right now. You know, so, and that's the attitude that the Teamsters have. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Instead of trying to dominate your own people and tell them what they can't do, encourage them. You know, teach them. Allow them to grow. Don't try to diminish their spirit. But that's what they do. And I'll never forget that, man, because that was, you know, you don't tell people that, "Oh, man, don't worry about this." And that's why I told them, man, if those two guys would have fought for what they believed in, we probably wouldn't be in this building right now.
Yeah. And to speak to another possible divide, what about the generational dynamics? I know you said before, you kind of see yourself as like
I'm in the middle.
A bridge.
I'm in the middle. I'm a bridge. I can Millie Rock, right? And in fact, the company at the same time.
Live.
Right.
Can you do it now?
I don't want to mess with my shoes up. My shoes.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta go to church on Sunday. I don't mess with shoes.
Doesn't really involve your feet, but.
No, but yeah, I'm like in the middle. You know, that's why we came up with the name. That's the main reason why we came up with the name. Because when I first started, there was a lot of older members. Now, there's a lot more younger members that have no idea what a union is.
And I remember even the parking lot rallies. To me, it was overwhelmingly younger.
Right.
People,
That's
you know?
all. That's all we have now. And like when I first started, no one really pulled me to the side and told me about my union rights. And there's so much information now, so many platforms you should use to get it out. And that's what we try to use, the Facebook, the YouTube, and everything we try to do, because we know young people like that kind of stuff. So like we got a radio show now that we stream it on Facebook, because we know people like Facebook, they like YouTube. So we try to educate our members that way so they'll know what's going on around the country and in our local. Because like I was telling you before, it's going to be hard for an older member to relate to a younger member, and vice versa.
Right.
So we have to be that bridge. We have to be that bridge to connect the two. Right. You know what I mean? I know we laughed about the Millie Rock and everything, but that's very important because that's what UPS did.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they did. They came in. I'm telling you guys, if we go there now, there's one supervisor.
The
she
manager
changed.
is mainly rocking everywhere.
Right. They changed. She changed her hair color every day. They never would do that before. And I asked her, I said, what made you become a supervisor? I said, well, I'm comfortable with, the people. We hang out together. We go to the same clubs. We do this. We do that. My principal officer, I don't know him.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know him. And I've been there for 20 years. I don't know him.
Right.
And that's sad. I don't know him. But
and when it comes to an intense situation like a strike, if you feel more loyalty on a personal level to management, you know what I mean? I think that's
yeah,
going
you
to play.
would. Especially if they're throwing you parties.
Right.
They
And
give you
it's going to be,
bonuses.
how could you betray this?
And now, before they wouldn't even let you date.
Mm-hmm.
Now they dating. They some of them might be married.
Right.
Kids and families. Think about this for a moment. I'm married to a supervisor. We got a family. And we going on strike. How is it going to work? It's not going to work. It's not.
Yeah.
No matter how you slice it, it's not going to work. It's not.
And another thing, kind of maybe UPS focusing, and I kind of like broaden out the conversation, but there's just a lot of talk in general in society about automation, technology. And I hear about it a lot in logistics. So
Right.
how is, even just the time you've been there, how has automation been and technology been affecting the workforce
Well,
and the work and all that?
They just built 2 new automation, I don't want to say apparatuses, but they just built these 2, they call them SLSs in the building. And actually, I'm going to tell you, it hasn't, as far as cutting jobs, it actually created more jobs because there's a lot more work coming.
Okay.
I think we got like 8 or 9 more planes because of that, because they're able to process more work.
Right.
So there's a lot more people working. I think our local got an extra 2,000 members in like a few months span because of that. So as of right now, it's not a problem. Will it be a problem later on? I'm pretty sure UPS is gonna find a way to cut those people and make as much money as they. Right now, they're working out the kinks, and they're actually building more in the building. You know, they're building more. They got all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah.
As far as making the building more state of the art. I guess to get more work in there, but pretty soon they're gonna try to figure out a way to cut the member so they can make more profit.
And do you know, and I'm sure Joan, you know, but for drivers, how's technology figuring into the package car drivers?
Well, I know
They're using
overline
automation to dumb our jobs down.
Right.
That's exactly
Okay.
what they're doing.
Right.
That's what telematics is about. That's
Right.
what small sort machines are about.
Right.
They're trying to find a way to eliminate the person.
Right.
So to kind of broaden this out a little bit, talking about unions and what we do politically. So clearly, I mean, the labor movement is in crisis.
Yeah.
We're in about 10% of the American workforce is in unions. The public sector is like the last bastion, and now that's right to work. So we're kind of in trouble. What other political issues? So we know, I mean, unions are obviously going to be for, against right to work and labor issues. But what other kind of political issues in society do you think unions really need to be taken up that are not solely just based on labor and workers? Things that are in our interest, but also
Right. I think what the unions need to do, they need to get more involved in what's going on around them in their community. You know what I mean? I think they need to definitely do that because a lot of our members work in the communities that are not well off to do. You know what I mean? Because we got in contact with the organization called the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. They do a lot of work for homelessness, drug addicts and things like that. So we do a lot of work with them, and it's amazing that you see some of your own members struggle with these issues. And if you're not, I guess, tapped in to the membership, you won't know that. Because I was shocked at some of the people that I see out in these areas I work with, and I didn't know. Right. So I think that's one of the things that unions need to get more socially active and community active with what's going on around them. Because a lot of their members are in these situations, and they need help.
Right.
They need a lot of help. And I think that will go a long way because you'll build up a relationship and more participation from what you need, as far as the union movement. But what about the people movement? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we need to focus on.
And I meant to bring this up earlier on contract stuff, but you did attend a canvas around healthcare, and we were talking about what role that plays. So, I guess talk about how did your experience go when talking about Medicare for all?
It was good.
And why do you think? Sorry, just for the unions negotiation wise, why would that be?
That would be a really good. I think if they can get it, it would be really good. It's kind of like a double-edged sword, I would think, especially for what we do. Now, it would be good because the employer want to be able to come to the table and say, hey, what about negotiating over this healthcare situation? You need money for this. That money could be used for strengthening the pension, maybe getting more full-time jobs, something like that. But on the other hand, a lot of the unions get money from the healthcare.
And sort of, I know in my union we have a health and welfare fund, and sort of like patronage.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. You know what I mean? But I for one, I would definitely go for it because you can take it off the table.
Right.
Now I can get more jobs, more pension contributions, something that that would benefit the members. You know what I mean?
Right. So to move to the teacher strike wave. So it's been an incredible year. We started out with West Virginia a year ago, the whole state, Arizona, Oklahoma. This year we have Denver, Los Angeles, the second largest district, Oakland just wrapped up, and West Virginia went on strike again. So just from your perspective, you know what I think about them. But outside of teaching, I'm just kind of curious for other union activists, other sectors, like how is this affecting you? And even, in the workplace at my school, for example, it's just great because this is something I can use to say, because the same problem, everyone's demoralized, they don't think it's possible, but the key thing is not only they're striking, but they're winning very significantly, and it's getting harder and harder for them to say, well, we can't do anything. I'm like, I got pictures of 10 different states on my phone, I can show you right now. So is that similar dynamic at work, or like, what's been the impression on you?
I would love for that to happen here. I would definitely love to be a part of that. That would be amazing just to be standing shoulder to shoulder with people who are not afraid to fight, stand up against corporate greed and corporate domination and all these kind of things, man. That would be awesome, and I commend the teachers for what they're doing. I hope they keep it up and hope it spreads throughout every other sector and every other, union, man. That would be awesome. I would love to be a part of that.
And we are talking with people in LA, so they're allies, so we're trying. But
I would love to
keep it posting
a
year or two.
And that would be good.
So it's never too early to speculate about a presidential election.
Right.
Well, I guess in general, how do you think unions should relate to this election? Meaning, how should they be thinking through who do they endorse, and is there anyone catching your eye? Like,
well, of course, you want to get somebody who's pro-worker. You definitely want to do that. That's number one. But again, I'm not in the politics.
There's no one catching your eye.
I could never get into that.
So you want,
like my wife should tell you, she hates that I don't talk about Trump. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I just don't get. I'll say this about Trump. This is what I'm gonna say. Trump is a symptom of what America is and has always been. And I'll leave it like that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So if your slate wins and a member comes to you,
I get that.
who are we going to endorse? Who are we looking at? And you're going to be like, I'm not political. Wow.
No, this is what I would do. I would say, you know what? We're going to have a meeting with the ATM committee, and we're going to talk about it. We'll caucus about it, and we'll come up with find out who we're going to support.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because and not to go backtrack, but in 2021, we're going to have another International Brotherhood of Teamsters election. And the guy at the top of the ticket that they're trying to put there now, he did a lot of things to a lot of people that not happy.
Right.
So, and especially for our local. Now, we're going to have to talk about that too. Like Fred Zuckerman is our guy, but we don't particularly, like Sean O'Brien, because he was a part of this whole 2013 contract and what happened and the convention, and I get people can change, but you do have to come and face the people that you hurt before you get their support. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and Joan, I know how you feel about it. You know what I mean? And I'm with her. And I know a lot of people say, Sean O'Brien, I'm not sold on the guy yet. And I never said anything about it, but I'm standing here now. I'm not sold on someone. I'll put it to you like this. If I come to you, if I go to one of you guys' house, and let's just say I take something that your family needs, and I take it, and you don't hear, and I don't apologize, don't say anything, and then all of a sudden, I want you to give me the keys to the whole neighborhood. Not just out your house. Now I want to come back and take over your neighborhood. How would you feel about that? You can be like, oh man, you just took something from me. Now you want to come back and give you the opportunity to just take from our whole neighborhood without you. We don't know anything about you. We know what you've done. We know what you've been doing. Then all of a sudden, you have a change of heart. not saying people can't change,
Right.
but I'm not sold on it. I'm not
Yeah.
sold on it. I'm not.
He's not political though.
Right, yeah, not political.
See how she did that? Yeah.
But, I mean, I think what you're saying kind of does get at this point. I mean, there's a big issue, especially in my union, AFT. In 2016, I mean, just the idea that unions are endorsing without any membership discussion. So, you know, my union was the first to endorse Hillary, and it's like, you know, there's other candidates, why are we not discussing this, or why are no members having input?
Right. I agree.
You know,
I agree.
so I'm hoping this time around there's more.
And that needs to happen. That needs to happen. And like for the whole, with our presidential election, I know, how many people run? Like 100 people running now? That's why, you know, that's why I don't get involved in it, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
All right, I'll lay off those for now. But so maybe the last question before open up for discussions. You know, what would you say a young activist, whether they're in the labor movement or not, you know, advice for
I would tell
what
them,
to do, how to get involved?
I would tell them to keep pushing. Never give up. If you believe in something, just keep fighting for it. Educate yourself on things you may need to get what you're trying to get, and always have people around you that will back you up and support you, that will stand behind you and encourage you, and all, you know, get those kind of people that's in your corner. Not yes men or yes women, but people that will, you know, really tell you the truth. You know, you may not want to hear it, but you know, get somebody that you can trust. Get a good team together, and just never give up. You know, because like I said, in 2016, man, we lost. It was very it was close. 37 votes. We did take a seat from the incumbents. We had to deal with a lot, and it would have been easy to give up. It would have. To come up that close, put all that work, spend all the time traveling, and to lose. But if you believe in something, never stop. Never stop. Keep pushing, keep fighting. Because if you keep fighting, keep pushing, somebody's going to take notice. Somebody's going to, you know, get involved, because that's all we hear now.
Right. Yeah.
People take notice, you know. People want to know what's going on. What's this old 623 Live thing I keep hearing about? What's these guys over here? They was with the nurses one day. They was over here with this. What's going on? Let's find out what's going on. Because that's one of the things I think just labor doesn't do enough of. I'll stick to my teamsters,
Right.
and that's it. You stick to the teachers, and that's it. No, let's everybody get together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fight, because we can take over.
Right. Yeah.
We can. Workers can take over if we all unite.
Right.
Who gonna stop us?
I think we maybe have about 10 to 15 minutes left. So yeah, we want to do a round. We could do one at a time, or maybe a few at a time. But yeah, any questions for Richard? And maybe just say your name.
My name is Patrick, he, him. It's nice to meet everybody. My question for you, Richard, is it's very easy to understand why UPS wants to take advantage of you. That's their whole job.
Yes.
They get their money
Yes.
from you guys.
Yes.
Why? I mean, it's a two-part question, really.
Okay.
But the first part is why? I know it's a bit of a mystery, but why do you think your current leadership is so unresponsive to the membership? And in relation to your specific campaign, obviously to get better leadership,
Right.
are there any plans on your part? What do you think of changing the structure of your union to make it so that you're not just sort of like electing a better king? You know, that you
Gotcha.
actually become like a union that
Right.
does the things you wanted to do.
Right.
Not to say you aren't a great person and that everyone else in your
Right.
campaign,
Right.
but like what structural changes are you thinking of making to the Teamsters? if
Well,
you
I
can?
think with the structural change, you would have to make it more. I don't know if it's a structural change, but you would have to make it more diverse. For, like I said, there's only one woman, and I think the Teamsters is pretty much about 46% women, but there's only one representative. So I don't know if you could actually change the structure. That would take a long time, and you would have to go through a lot of like constitutional changes and bylaw changes, and that will probably be after we're gone from working, you know, But I think what we could do is, you may not need a structural change if you just get the right people there that really focus on the members. If you keep those members, keep those leaders in place, and when it comes time for election, make sure that you keep electing those type of candidates, I think you'll be fine. I really do. But I don't think you have to change the structure, just change the people. You know what I mean? But and the other part of it is, I have no idea why our leaders, I just don't know why they just won't fight for us.
Because you think that they get their power from the membership, right? The membership
They
is who
do.
put them there, and
Right.
that's who they work for. So what interest could they possibly have?
You know
in
what I think?
representing that membership?
I think they do. I think they, like what Hoffa just did with the voting thing. I think they do that just to stay in office. They don't care about the people. They care about the position and the title. So if I take your vote away from you and all these types of things, I give you bad contracts, you're not going to vote me out because you're not even going to vote. You're not going to participate. I mean, because I'm taking everything that makes you away from you. What they always tell you: come to the hall, vote, and all these types of things. But when you come to the hall, I don't let you speak. I cut you off. I get mad with you, and I take your vote away from you. So why would I keep coming? Why?
Any other questions? Over there.
I'm gonna introduce my guy right here. This is Joe Esposito. He's running on our ticket.
Here's a question.
Yes.
What fiduciary duties do you expect from your union reps? Because they have an obligation to basically supply what they
Right.
don't give you, which is the contract. Where does that fall with you? You know, as we create a structure,
Right.
right? The team that you want to assemble supports what structure and has to
Right.
keep that property earned through collective bargaining yours and not give it back to UPS.
Right.
Which we all know happens because they like to play the rules
Right.
any way they want.
Right. Well, like you said, Joe, the person that you elect has to, like you said, has a responsibility to the membership. But again, if that person is not doing his job, then you have to remove them. So a lot of that, like you just said, Joe, the part to that, you have to get the right people in there to do that responsibility. A lot of times, but we don't vote. We don't get those people that take care of that responsibility. They don't. So, I mean, that's ultimately what we have to do. Get the right people there that will protect the members, the responsibility they have to the members, and that's the only way we can make it better.
I think with the structure, it's like what we're talking about with training stewards. Well, I mean, you know, that base there is part of. To me, that's part of the structure. I mean,
Right.
you have strong stewards. You know, even if they're not official.
Right.
That
Right.
I think helps.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, education and training is very, very important.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things we're running on, transparency and education.
Mhm.
You have to have those two things to make it better than what the situation is right now. Because right now, Joe, you always talk about it. Communicate and train the stewards.
Right.
Because they are the first line of defense.
Mhm.
If the steward is adequately prepared, a lot of issues will stay on the shop floor. You can handle them. They won't even get to the BA.
Right. Yeah.
But again, we have to train. We have to train.
And by the way, I read my watch wrong. We have a lot more time than that.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. So I think that it would be important to say like larger scope, right? Large picture. How we make sure that people who are in unions and people who are employed or who employ people in unions aren't feeling the racism and the sexism and the economic
Right.
prejudice that they feel. But not only that, but the problem that all unions face is all the specific pieces of legislation that's going on. So using politicians and using political movements, right? You say you want to create a larger movement. Well, how do we do that when we got to elect? It's like using elections as the locus around it, right? Because union members need union halls, you know, we need a DSA events. But you know, what do we do outside of work and the organization of labor, right? And organizing around a separate but related topic,
Right.
I think is would you value in a political candidate that would make it?
Well, I mean, like I said, he has to be pro-worker. You know, that's number one. He has to be. Then you have to, if you can, abolish right to work laws. I mean, I know that's crazy, but you know that's something that we need to focus on, because right to work hurts everybody. You know what I mean? That is, I don't understand that, how they could even get away with that. You know what I mean?
Can you explain why right to work for less hurts people?
For an example, right to work is legislation that gives the person, I want to say, it gives them a choice to whether they want to pay dues or not, right? But they get the same protections, the same everything that a person that is paying has. So this person is quote unquote a freeloader. Gets the same protection, same contract, same benefits, same everything, but they don't have to pay for it. Well, that's not fair. It's not. And that weakens the unions, because if they're not getting, you know, that income for, like you said, getting the politicians on their side, getting contracts, you know, because things cost, like the agreements that we fought, they cost money. You know, having to go and negotiate a contract, that costs money. So if they're not getting those resources, the contract is not going to be as good. You're not going to get a favorable politician, and it's just going to weaken the union altogether. But then on the flip side of that, though, how do you counteract that from a person that says, well, okay, right to work is wrong, but so is taking votes away?
Yeah.
You know, how do you?
And like you said, if UPS can't pay $15 an hour, but Amazon will, what is the argument for it?
Right. They're supposed to be raising the standard.
Right.
Let's put this together. Just recently, 804 has different buildings than their own local that start off at $15 an hour versus $13 an hour.
Right.
And supposedly, what they said online is that they could not get the $15 an hour wage
Across the whole local, right?
UPS is a concept. It's called fair day's work for fair day's pay. How do you tell this guy here that it's worth $15 an hour, but the guy working over in the building over here, it's not?
Can't get it right.
We have a top rate system. UPS doesn't want a top rate system. They want this crazy whatever they want system. And that's where the union fails.
Right.
So like, when guys talk about right to work, like Porter said, and it does hurt the unions, but it's like punishment for them, because they don't do their job.
Right.
They're not sitting there organizing the membership. The last time I seen them pass out flyers is when it comes to election time.
Right. Yeah.
Not during the course of the year to say, hey, what's going on?
Right.
These are the issues, these are the bills that are coming in that will affect the membership. They have it at the union meeting, put the guy clean answer out.
Right.
So why are you putting information you have to go see stuff when you don't have that necessary knowledge to even address the issue? Talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think, just
Oh, wait.
you, sorry.
Real quick, I want to get Tyler over
Oh,
here.
no, did you have a follow-up? Because I can, okay.
Is it okay, wait, is it okay if I say this really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like using political, like the act, once they get in office, right, and using the political will that you build, like passing Medicare for all, unions wouldn't have to negotiate with any employer over any differences in healthcare. Like everybody in this country would just be living under the same system. So that makes I think that makes your life easier, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, I agree. I agree with that, but then on the flip side, like I was telling you, with the current leadership that we have,
And there wouldn't be a difference of like right to work.
right, what's going to happen is they get a lot of their money from those contributions from the health care. So they're going to be, but I agree. I agree. It would be better especially for a company like UPS, not to be able to bring that to the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We could get more full-time jobs, more pension contributions, things like that. I think that would be better. But again, we don't have the leadership to think like that, though.
Right. Tyler?
Yeah, my question is, what would you say to someone who wanted to support you as a leader in the union, but was skeptical given your support of the Duke Blue Devils?
Oh,
We'll take this later. My actual question is that you mentioned at the beginning that you didn't know anything about unions as a young man,
Right.
and so I wanted to know, like, You know, how do you plug people in, like given such low membership, like how do you plug people into the union, and what do you think are some of the reasons for the disengagement among the members? I mean, you said that one of your more recent votes only got a small portion of your total membership out. So
Right.
what kind of reasons, what kind of reasons?
I think if you talk about your experiences, you can bring more people in to the union. I can say, hey, listen, you join a union, wages are better, healthcare is better, protections are better. You get a chance to voice your opinion about working conditions and things like that. But you know, you gotta do your part. You have to vote. The reason why the participation is so low, I think, is because this is voting just low, no matter what election or no matter what campaign, no matter what contract. It's just voting just so low, no matter what it is. I mean, I wish people would vote, because a lot of these issues that we have, we wouldn't have. You know what I mean? Especially for leadership, like especially within our union, if people would vote, we wouldn't be going through this.
And one striking thing about some of these teacher strikes is the percentage of members voting, not let alone voting yes, is around 90%. And in LA, I know they had these things. I mean, speaking of stewards, they're called contract action teams.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's a person for every 10 members of the union. There was a person almost like a steward.
Right.
And it's like, that's how you get to 90% participation.
Right.
But so it's possible. But again, they have a different leadership.
Right,
and
and that's the
vision.
thing. Leadership plays a big role, big role in what we're trying to do.
Actually, this is going to be a two-part question for both of you, Paul, because Rich and I are both in awe of the teachers and the fact that they didn't hesitate. One of the things that Hoffa brags about is this multi-billion-dollar strike fund. Okay, doesn't he? He brags.
Yeah.
Oh, I got this big strike fund. I got this big strike fund, but we're never going to use it. So, right?
Right.
So, what advice would you give to a Teamster local like ours on how to engage the membership to actually vote to strike? I mean, how did you guys get there?
Well, my union isn't there yet, so I can't speak from me doing it. So I know in a lot of these places, I mean, Chicago back in 2012 really like kicked off the inspiration. And it's kind of a very similar playbook in all of them. I mean, they started caucuses, they challenged for leadership, but like, kind of what you say, you have to do the part before you're in the part. And so for a lot of them, I think what came was having concrete victories before they were in leadership.
Right.
I think it's like, I mean, I keep thinking about the guy, Mankins.
Yeah.
I mean, so now, he knows now, that experience now is what the union does for him. Like, no leaflet could do what he has now, $3,300 he would not have had.
Right.
So I think recreating those experiences on a large scale. So I know in Chicago, LA, a lot of it was like keeping schools open that were going to turn charter, stuff like that. You know, the issues around the building, and I feel like that meant, oh, members see, oh, we're getting wins here, this is actually worth doing. And I think building up that kind of structure where, you know, every single steward, we call them building reps for teachers, but they're trained well, and there's so many in each building that tries to get to every person. I don't know if that's helpful, but you know, it's just kind of like really demonstrating a win and getting people excited about that, and kind of like taking it from there. But there was part of that is the strategy of, well, I mean, the leadership's at a certain point, and they got to get out, then they have to get out.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, you were successful in engaging your membership.
Right.
So that's my second
Yeah.
question to Rich is, how are you going to engage the membership?
Well, like we've always been doing. I mean, standing at the gates constantly. We came up with the radio show. That helps out a lot. It has helped out a lot. You know, and it's not just here locally. It helps out a lot of people across the country to try to, you know, find different ways to help their situation out. So there's a lot of ways. Like, we try to come up with different ways. Like, for an example, we have this thing that we started about 4 years ago where we give flowers to our mothers on Mother's Day weekend. You know, that's the way you engage the membership, because a lot of people don't know we have about half of our membership, at least about 40% are women. So we were able to hit a lot of women to that probably will never think about unions or voting or anything, because you gotta try different things to get more people engaged than what's going on. You know, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and I hate the Eagles. You know, we came out with this shirt. You know how they had the dogs
Yeah.
So we came up with the shirt that had 63 Lives Matter with the dog on it. You know, home dogs
Yeah.
gotta eat or whatever. That was a big thing. It got more participation. People, you know, find out what was going on. And they knew I hate the Eagles, so they know they had to take a lot for me to do that.
He's a Vikings fan, by the way.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it was bad that week. It was a bad week that week. It was real bad that week. It was real bad. But you gotta try to find something that your members will, respond to, and then play off that. You know what I mean? I know this is a sports town, but everybody loves the Eagles, so we use that. They got a big engagement there.
And then I was gonna say even stuff like social events on the most basic level,
Yeah.
to start. And I think you said it's, we're kind of like just your attitude is different, where it's not like, I mean, my union leadership, like, oh, we sent you an email about the action, why aren't people coming,
Right.
but meanwhile,
Right.
you've never seen anyone about an issue, so I mean, I don't think it's a quick process. It's
No,
not like that.
you just gotta want to do the work. That's the main thing. You gotta want to do it. It's gotta be in your heart. You gotta believe in it, and that you will get the engagement. But you gotta do the work. Espo tell me all the time. He said, "Man, I don't know when you sleep." Because I'm always trying to come up with something to get people engaged in what we're trying to do. Something, anything. I don't care how crazy it may sound or dumb it may sound or how it may look. Whatever we gotta do to get the people more involved, especially when they're paying their money. You know what I mean? That part of me really is baffling. If I'm paying for something, I would want to know what's going on with it.
Right.
If I don't know how you guys who gives you guys your energy. But for example, if Pico would have sent me $1,000 bill, I'm not gonna just put it over there and pay it. I'm gonna find out, man, what's going on? So and I want to find out, if I'm paying my official 6 figures, what are you doing bringing me back this bad contract? Why are you taking my votes away from me? So, but we gotta find ways to get our members more involved.
Hi, my name is Nikki. I started working at the airport hub actually about 5 weeks ago, so
Okay.
I'll be a Teamster and
Right.
next Friday, I guess.
All right, congrats, my man.
I wanted to start by echoing what you said about the supervisors. There's no label on their ID
Right.
or
And
anything.
it's supposed
so
to be.
I'm constantly confused about who's a supervisor
Right.
and who's a worker. Yeah, I mean, it's really confusing, and I've noticed just from the short time working there that basically everyone I work with sees more of a shot in them becoming a supervisor, which is a pretty astronomically low chance than them winning any games through the union. I haven't met a shop steward or anything. I know I'm not a union member yet, but everything I've been told about the union has been told to me by representatives of UPS.
What area you work in?
I work primary south in what shift? Midnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come up there and see you. That's not my area, but I'm gonna come there and see you.
How much the supervisors make?
It's like I don't know.
19.
Yeah, they don't do anything either. They just look at their phones the whole shift. So yeah, people they want that job because they see these people that make twice as much as us, and all they do is look at their phone their entire shift, and we're not even allowed to bring our phones in. So I guess my question is, first of all, how do you break that sort of cultural affinity for supervisors? Like, what would your plan be for that? And I guess one more funny aside is that they didn't give us any food ever, but one time there was like some stale loaves of Panera bread, and I took one home and ate 3 times.
Right.
But but yeah, that's my question is like, especially because I think the turnover rate for part-timers is like something like 80 or 90%.
Yeah.
So how do you organize those people?
Well-
or even the like tiptoe of getting them to identify more of the union than their supervisors?
Right.
Yeah.
Like we said earlier, you see that? You can't tell the difference, and that's a big issue. He doesn't see his steward, he doesn't see his official that he pays every week, but he sees the supervisor, and they tell the hourly about us, and we should be telling him about us. So I agree, man. But one of the things we gotta do, we gotta build those relationships. We have to. You have to see us not just around election time or contract time. You gotta see us, not when it's beneficial for us. You know what I mean? But Yeah, and I'm glad you came. I'm glad you came. So you can go back and tell everybody, you know, what we plan on doing. And that's another thing that we can help each other out on. You can tell everybody about this event, tell them what you saw, what you heard. You can go back and tell everybody on South 3, hey, listen, this is what we in store for if we elect these new people. You know what I mean? So, again, you know, we do our part, you do your part, and watch what happens. You're gonna be happy, I'm telling you.
Here's a private question, right? Did you know that they hire package car drivers off the street and feeder drivers off the street? Did they ever tell you about those job opportunities?
No.
No, right?
Yeah.
The job pays at 36 plus an hour right now, top rate as a package car driver. He comes off the street, he'll become a union member, still supervisors will go and work as package car drivers before him.
Right.
They will never address with him, especially if he's a decent worker. Hey, listen, I got a full-time job opportunity. This is what you need to go do to go get
Right.
it. That's what UPS does. They keep you in the dark so they can get away with anything. Anything. Because
Well-
part-timers work for 10 plus years as full-time employees, and no one's did a thing.
Well, Joe, it's not their UPS. It's not really their job to tell. They're not going to tell him. It's our job to tell him. You know what I mean? Yeah.
UPS is a job to honor that contract.
Oh yeah, I agree.
You honor the contract, right?
Right.
You steal. You steal from everybody inside this room, because everybody's room pays taxes, right? Those taxes are now stored in the system. UPS didn't pay them. Because they made more taxes were down about. There's things that they do which are criminal in nature, which no one addresses. And that's the problem. Right? He's gonna sit here, he's got a right, they don't tell him that they're promoting. They don't tell him that there's a dovetail list he's got to sign. Matter of fact, he has to wait a year
Yeah.
before he can go in and do that. He can actually quit and probably go back and become a package car driver just that much faster. There's no advantage. He loses. Right? He loses.
Maybe like 2 or 3 questions that Joe.
I was just gonna ask Rich, why don't you tell him about, let's talk about separating supervisors from hourlies. Do you remember the whistle campaign during Ron Carey's?
Yeah. What they used to do is whenever the supervisor would touch a package or whatever, they'd blow the whistle. You know, that's so, but it worked though. You know, they got more people involved.
They said, just stop the whistles.
Right. But the only way to do that, just don't touch our package.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, those kind of campaigns. You know, they work and they're effective. But again, though, the way our local is right now, I don't know if they would get involved because everybody's so demoralized. You know what I mean? You vote, they take it. Bad contract, no participation. So, but we're gonna change that though. It's gonna be a lot of hard work, but we're gonna be able to do it. We're gonna do it.
Any other, maybe like 2 more questions before wrapping up? Dave?
All right, maybe this will end up being a question. You mentioned earlier that you already had some contact, with the communities that you're in.
Right.
One of the things that was really effective with the LA teachers was the amount of community buy-in that they had and support. And they just had everyone was backing them in the strike. Part of one, I can think off the top of my head of 2 examples as to what they did to help get that. When they, as part of the contract negotiation, they asked for things outside of the workplace. So opt for, not, thinking just outside of their own needs in the contract.
Right.
They also put in, they also won things like on school properties, tearing down delinquent, derelict buildings and creating green spaces and things like that, so public schools didn't look like warehouses.
Right.
The other thing they did, they put in place a 24-hour immigration hotline staffed by attorneys for people in the community. If they're having any issues, they could call this hotline to get help. And that was set up jointly between, that became a contract item for the teachers, but it was a joint teacher and community project. And so, I guess if I were to make this into a question, does anything maybe it's too big of a thing to happen at your national contract level, but in your supplemental level contracts, do you guys, in your local authorities, because it's a smaller region, do you have an input to maybe make those kind of suggestions? Or
No, that we can do, it has to be just pertaining to what goes on inside the building, the collective bargaining. Nothing for as any outside dealings, none of that.
Just to follow up on that, what would it take to be able to build that kind of external capacity to like get that connection with the community on a kind of a deeper level?
Probably, I hate to say it, probably politicians. I see what y'all did. That was pretty good.
I'll buy you 2 drinks later.
That was smooth. I like that. All right. Okay.
I swear that wasn't planned. Maybe one more, or and obviously we'll be around a little bit talking more. Any closing remarks or?
No, I just thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, to come out. You know, we'll talk about what we plan on doing in the future, and I hope to see you guys. This is what I do want to say. Now, in a few months, that we're gonna be hitting the gates really, really hard to try to get these guys out of office. So it will be very, very important that if you guys come out, stand at the gates with us, rally with us, you know, and let our membership know that, hey man, you know, the time for giving into the company, the time for just you know, complacent leadership, it has to end this time. In October, we gotta get these guys out. We have to. I mean, our local is really, you know, at a bad place right now. As far as leadership, I can see the change in the membership, you know, attitude. They kind of see what's going on, but you know, we got to bring it home this time. It can't be 37 votes.
Right.
It can't be. It can't be. And in my heart, I believe we're going to do it. I believe that, but we want to send a really big message, you know, to our members. Say, listen, these guys have our support from all labor factions in the city. You know, we need to show them that, hey, you know, when you guys need us, we're going to be there. You know what I mean? So that would be very appreciative if you guys can do that for me, you know, going down, you know, the line. Especially in the, you know, summer and fall, we're going to be at the gates now, but not as, you know, summer, fall, we're really going to be out there. So we need you guys, you know, come on out there and let's get it done for our members. All right? All right. And maybe we can talk about politics or whatever.
If you could help with chairs, you see there's like a stack there, some over here.
Okay, cool.
Again, thanks again. Oh, sign in too.
Okay,
You wanna?
If you guys didn't sign in already, the computer went around, but some people came in late, so come get the computer over here.
Richard, stop it.